My journey as a Christian has not been easy, and the mistake that I made, or at least the assumption that I had when returning to faith, was that it would be easy, that a lot of it would be sunshine and rainbows, and it would just be like living life on a cloud. And I genuinely did think this. But for me to sort of like go through this story and go through my transformation as a Christian and the lessons that I've learned, let's go right back to the start. Now, my journey as a Christian, I've only actually been going to church since around February this year, and that sort of decision to show up and go to church that day was actually quite a recent thought. So I'd only actually been, toying with the idea for around 2 to 3 days. And what sort of led me to it was really just like this natural feeling. Usually when it comes to business and, making decisions, I've always been able to use data, and I had like a very rational understanding. This is what I need to do because this will be the outcome. But yeah, when it came to going to church, something was just pulling me in, and I didn't really know what it was, but it just made sense to go. It just made sense to take those steps and just show up to a Sunday service. So what I started doing was I started going on the internet, as I'm sure many of us young people do, and I started to look at what can I expect. I tried to rationalize this very emotional and spiritual decision, and I was looking for what clothes do you wear, what time does it start at, what does it show up, and I actually started to struggle with what churches was allowed what, because the websites were ancient, so I didn't really know what to do. And I found this one, it was very local to me, and the day came and I showed up. I didn't actually tell anyone that I was going. What you'll find, especially with my journey, was that I was quite protective of it. I internalized this journey and this decision. But I showed up, and again, everything had sort of been very natural. I still didn't know why I was going, didn't know what to expect, and I just found myself walking in. So I went in and I had the first service. I've done a very special video on my actual first experience at church. I would actually go recommend and watch that, because the way that the Holy Spirit, my encounter with that, and some of the others that I'd had in the past are really quite special. So you will enjoy that. But I sort of joined, went the first time. I sent a voice note to one of my close friends afterwards, and that was the only real thing that I'd sort of shared about what it was like going there. And I just knew instantly that I belonged there and it was the right decision. It's very rare, especially in business, that you make a decision and it pays off instantly. But yeah, I walked in, and within 10-20 minutes, I knew this is exactly where I needed to be. And from February right up until sort of like that Easter weekend, that was when I actually got baptized. So I got baptized on that Easter weekend. And the first thing that I thought was that when I got baptized, especially we're talking in the moment, so going under the water and everything, I initially thought that there'd be a light bulb moment, like a physical representation of something, like a cloud opens or I hear a voice, and I heard nothing. My baptism was quite, in terms of the experience, there was no big moment, there was no big reveal. It was really quite quiet. And even the days afterwards, there was nothing, right? There was certain special moments in the stuff that I've been praying for, especially when I was getting blessed. Sure, there was stuff going on there, but my journey as a Christian, there's been no immediate things that have been really like, this is it. This is a completely new beginning. It's been in my daily actions, my emotions, basically sort of shedding a light on my past and why certain things have happened. That's where the actual transformation has happened. So I guess in my journey, where the main teaching points have been on is really having a lot more patience and appreciation for stuff. So right now, I've just finished fishing, and this whole idea of being nature and just having this immense gratitude for God's creation, that has really been the turning point for me. Because again, a lot of my self-worth, my actions, basically before Christianity, I was just crazy about money and growth and fast things in life, and I was a product of the flesh, right? So all I cared about was watches, and I want this, and I want to make this amount of money. And essentially returning to faith in Christianity, the journey through that has been actually redefining what my purpose is, what I want to accomplish in life, and what I'm meant to be doing, right? And it's not the fast cars, it's not the watch, it's not all this money. It's more so being present. It's more so being and representing Christianity in the best way possible, right? If someone was to come to me now, put a gun to my head and say, what's your purpose? My purpose is this. It's to be an exceptional human being. It's took me a long, long time to realize that. And what I found in my day-to-day actions is that when I'm praying, when God is working with me, I've found different ways to become an exceptional human being. This isn't going to be an overnight thing. You can't just do one action and then that's it, purpose fulfilled. It is a compound effect of making the right choices each and every single day. I would say another one would be forgiveness, right? So when there's been people in my life, I guess really sort of before meeting my sort of fiance at the time, my current fiance, sorry, I worded that wrong. Before meeting her, I'd never really seen the best side of humanity, right? There'd been people that had left, growing up in foster care, there was not nice experiences there, and I harbored a lot of resentment for these people to the point where I wanted to be successful just to spite these people. I wanted to do these things just to get one up on them, to show them that I could do it. And I use that as a driving force to make a lot of decisions and create a lot of growth for myself before faith. This was one of the biggest mistakes that I made to this day. Understand that you need to be the villain in someone else's story. That's why these people can do you wrong. They'll still sleep fine at night. They'll still have no issue. In their head, they've done nothing wrong. And yet, in my mind, I was just thinking the complete opposite. What God has worked with me on is learning to forgive, but also just learning to let go, right? God gives me the discipline. God gives me the vision. I give him the discipline, right? That is really how I'm able to show up in my day-to-day actions. In terms of the forgiveness, though, what I was really able to do was just to understand what had gone on in these situations, why it had happened, and most importantly, what it was able to teach me. Me holding on to these negative feelings and this resentment for certain people, it did no benefit to my life. It was just carrying extra baggage. You imagine if I've got to walk to the edge of that field over there and I'm just carrying myself, it's going to be a very easy walk. But if I'm carrying a suitcase and a wheelbarrow and a super heavy backpack, imagine how hard that's going to be to get just to the edge of that field. So God has been able to, and by me working with him, the saying is let go and let God. And as I've let go and let God take over, I've been able to let go of that. I don't think about it. If I was to see them right now, be no hard feelings, right? I don't care. It's not in my emotional remit now to hold anything negative towards these people, these circumstances, all sorts of stuff. And the back end of that, coming out of that now, is freeing. It's liberating. I've been able to learn so much more about myself. What I've learned this has been through business and sort of my daily prayers, is that I can only think about a certain amount of stuff every single day. I've only got a certain amount of mental bandwidth. And when I began to release all of these negative things, release all of this hatred, and also this quest for fleshly desires, I had like this feeling of emptiness. I was like, well, what do I think now? Now what do I do? I've got all this free space. Now I can start thinking better. So then my prayers became more influential. They became more heartfelt. I've really been able to have legitimate conversations, and it's been one of the most beautiful and amazing feelings ever. I wouldn't have been able to do this without God. In terms of the journey as well, I would say that like learning to know what to do each and every single day, it's still something that I battle with, but what I've found is that I know, how to put one foot in front of the other. Most of the time beforehand, I was always scrambling. I was always thinking, I need to be over there. I need to be in 6 months' time. God has really been able to allow me to be present. He's allowed me to enjoy the current moment. I'm about to drive home now, and there's just this immense gratitude for simple things like the sky, the trees, the creation. I've been able to enjoy so much more at the current moment. So it's given me my life back. Often people speak about being born again in a baptism, and that's what it stands for. But I would say the biggest thing in my journey is that I've actually gotten my life back. I have something now that is, something that I enjoy. I'm able to be present and enjoy a moment with loved ones, friends, family. I've been able to meet new people, learn new skills. It's literally like being born again, but also being given something that was taken away from me from a young age, and that I'd sort of ended up pushing back onto myself. So I've been able to release myself from my own shackles and live a better life. So we'll call the video there. That's just a little bit of the journey that I've been on, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video.